January 17th, 1943. Dawn over the Solomon Islands. The sky is still the color of tarnished steel, the air thick with the smell of wet jungle and hot oil. A formation of 12 Mitsubishi A6 M0s claws its way northward at 8,000 feet, engines snarling in perfect unison. Their pilots sit bolt upright in open cockpits, silk scarves fluttering, eyes narrowed against the first pale light. They're the best the Imperial Navy has left, veterans of Pearl Harbor, Midway, Guadalcanal. They have never lost a dogfight to an American fighter in equal numbers. Never. They have come to intercept a lone American reconnaissance plane reported limping home from Bougainville. Easy prey. A single kill to paint on the fuselage before breakfast. They joke over the radio in calm, confident voices. One lieutenant even hums a few bars of a popular Tokyo song. Then the American appears. Not the expected crippled B-17. A single twin-boomed silhouette, low and fast, slicing through the morning haze like a gray shark. A Lockheed P-38 Lightning. The Japanese formation leader blinks once, then twice. He keys his microphone. Enemy aircraft? One Lightning, climbing to intercept. That is all he manages. Because in the next 47 seconds, everything the Empire believed about air superiority collapses forever. The Lightning does not turn to run. It does not climb away. It simply rolls left, nose down, and comes straight through the heart of the formation at full throttle. Its 4.50 caliber Brownings and 120mm cannon speak once. Only once. A short, flat, ripping sound, like canvas being torn by a giant hand. 3 Zeros instantly lose wings. 2 more erupt in fire before their pilots can even pull the stick. A 6th pilot, trying to brake hard, simply disintegrates mid-turn as though an invisible hammer had struck him. The remaining 6 pilots yank their sticks in every direction, screaming over the radio in raw panic. Impossible! Impossible! Brake! Brake! He's everywhere! Where is he? Where? They never see him again. Because the Lightning is already rolled inverted, pulled up hard, and vanished into the rising sun. 47 seconds. 6 Zeros destroyed. 6 veteran pilots dead. 1 American pilot never even broke a sweat. His name was Lieutenant John W. Jack Jones, 39th Fighter Squadron, 35th Fighter Group. He had flown the same P-38 for 4 months without a single kill, until this morning. He would later write in his logbook, simply, got 6, felt like cheating. The Imperial Navy would spend weeks trying to explain what had happened. The official report would eventually blame superior American radar and numerical advantage. But every pilot who survived that dawn knew the truth. They had not been beaten by radar. They had been beaten by something far more terrifying. An aircraft that was simply better than theirs in every single way that mattered. For 2 years, the Zero had been the unchallenged king of the Pacific sky. Light, nimble, impossibly maneuverable. It could turn inside anything the Americans flew. It carried the finest pilots in the world. Men who had trained since childhood. Men who believed their divine destiny was to rule the heavens. But the Zero had been designed in 1937, and war had moved on. The P-38 Lightning was born in 1939, already carrying the future on its wings. Twin engines, twin tails, a cockpit placed forward like a gunner's turret, a full ton of armor plate protecting the pilot, 4.50 calibers, and a 20mm cannon clustered in the nose, converging fire that struck like a single sledgehammer instead of scattered shotgun pellets. And most important of all, speed, more than 50 miles per hour faster than the Zero at altitude. A difference that sounds small, until it becomes the difference between life and death. The Japanese pilots had trained their entire lives to win turning fights. The Americans had trained to never get into one. That was the new doctrine, born in blood over Guadalcanal. Hit hard, hit first, and run away before they can hit back. Boom and zoom. The Lightning was built for exactly that. And on January 17th, 1943, it performed its mission perfectly. After that single engagement, the myth of Japanese invincibility cracked open. Surviving pilots returned to Rabaul and La, with faces drained of color. They spoke in hushed tones of a fork-tailed devil that appeared and disappeared like a ghost. They spoke of how their best pilots had died without ever firing a shot. They spoke of something they had never felt before. Fear. One veteran ace, Saburo Sakai, himself wounded and half-blind, would later write, "We had always believed that spirit could overcome steel. That morning we learned that steel could overcome spirit. And yet the most devastating part was not the speed or the firepower. It was the casual indifference of it all. The American pilot had not even bothered to chase them. He had killed 6 men, destroyed half a squadron, and simply flown home for coffee. That indifference wounded deeper than any bullet, because it revealed the terrifying truth. The Americans were no longer the desperate amateurs of 1942. They were now the hunters, and they were abundant. That single P-38 carried something far more lethal than its guns. It carried the weight of American industry. Every rivet, every engine, every gallon of fuel represented factories running 3 shifts, women welding in Detroit, boys quitting high school to build bombers, ships sliding down the ways faster than the enemy could sink them. In 1943, the United States would produce more military aircraft in 1 year than Japan produced in the entire war. More than 96,000 planes. The Japanese produced fewer than 10,000. That imbalance was not just numbers. It was a philosophy made manifest. The Zero was a beautiful, delicate instrument built by craftsmen who worked by hand. The Lightning was a brutal, mass-produced instrument built by the millions. And in the cockpit of every Lightning sat a young American who had grown up with refrigerators, automobiles, and Saturday matinees. He had never known hunger. He had never known defeat. He believed, quietly, unshakably, that the world belonged to those who worked hardest and dreamed biggest. That belief was the real weapon. When the Japanese pilots looked up that morning and saw the Lightning coming through their formation, they did not see just one airplane. They saw the future rushing toward them at 400 miles per hour. And they knew, with absolute certainty, that they could not stop it. In the weeks that followed, the Solomon Islands air war changed forever. Japanese formations grew smaller, more cautious. They began to fly with their noses pointed homeward even before they reached the target. They began to break off at the first sign of American contrails. And every time a P-38 appeared on the horizon, the radio filled with the same choked whisper. Fork-tailed devil, fork-tailed devil. The war in the air was no longer about skill. It was about abundance, about belief, about a nation that could lose 1,000 planes in a month and never even slow down. Years later, a Japanese pilot who survived the war would stand on the deck of the battleship Missouri during the surrender ceremony. He watched the endless stream of American aircraft overhead. Mustangs, Corsairs, Hellcats, Lightnings, parading in victory. He turned to the American officer beside him and asked, very quietly, "How did you make so many?" The American smiled, shrugged, and answered, "We just never stopped." January morning in 1943. That was the answer that ended their dream of empire. 1 plane, 47 seconds, 6 lives, and the beginning of the end. Because when the sky itself begins to belong to the other side, when the horizon fills with enemies who never run out of machines or men or hope, then the war is already over. It just takes a little longer for the dying to finish. And in that long, terrible twilight between belief and surrender, the last sound the pilots of the Empire ever heard was the deep, hungry growl of twin Allison engines coming out of the sun,